Welcome back, Nuggets. This mother clucker's got some thoughts. Let's ruffle some feathers and get into the video. And if you would like to help my baby chick of a channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. I would be so appreciative. Thank you so much. Okay, so today we're going to be doing a mother clucking catch-up with Candy for the month of May. She's starting to actually put more and more interesting behavioral things into her content, especially into her mukbang videos that are on her main channel. And I've decided to actually break these up into 2 parts, and potentially moving forward, I might release these every fortnight or maybe just in a couple of parts at the end of the month. We shall see how it goes. Okay, and another thing I thought I would do is actually put up what she weighs in at the end of every month, because I don't know about you, but it kind of feels like as we're moving through them, it's very up and down and all over the place. And it constantly feels like she's saying it was a bad week. I wouldn't be surprised if I gain and all that jazz. And looking at the hard and fast numbers, I've just started tracking it since December of last year, which is basically where I started covering her, but where she started this specific health journey. And I was quite surprised to see that she has actually made some progress. It's not progress that she could be doing. She could be doing, she has the capacity to be doing so much more than this if she corrected her behaviors. I have raised many a time that I just worry that the speed at which she's doing things is going to outpace the time that she has. And I think some of the medical conditions that she is struggling with at the moment are really putting pressure on her time-wise to get this nipped in the bud. But she's kind of doing a more low and slow kind of weight loss that would be great for anybody in a normal set of circumstances. This would be a great rate of progress, nice and safe with minimal side effects, but Candy's situation is a little bit different. As you can see here, since December, she's lost 25.8 pounds, which is about 11.7 kilos, which is substantial. The thing that I am most concerned about is that, and you will see this continuing through these videos that I'm going to release for last month, she's really not addressing those behaviors. And considering that we are dealing with an intense substance compulsion on Candy's behalf, which her choice is food, she's still doing the mukbangs, which is kind of still feeding that compulsion element, if that makes sense. And I seriously question whether she is going to be able to be successful long term while still doing this. And I know that it's her income, and I know that it's complicated, and I know that she tells herself a whole lot of lies that are factually inaccurate, but this is where we're at. So, without further ado, let's get into this video.
Hey y'all, it's Friday, May 2nd, 2025. I'm about to do my weigh-in. I don't have makeup on, so I'm like, I don't even want y'all to see my face today. Oh, lordy. Anyway, I got y'all on a tripod. Oh, Lord. Let me do this.
384.6 pounds.
384.6. Oh. All right, y'all. Ooh. Yeah, it's been a pretty good week food-wise. I did a pretty heavy mukbang in the middle of the week on Tuesday, but even as heavy as it was still right around 3,000 calories, so it wasn't super bad. But yeah, I've been doing okay.
So that's a pretty significant loss for Candy. And the reality is, at her size, the amount of calories that her engine takes to run, mathematically, she can actually still maintain these mukbangs twice a week, so long as she is really careful through the rest of the days of sticking to a certain amount of calories. So, for example, roughly speaking, her basal metabolic rate, which is just her body existing in its sedentary state, we're not adding any sort of exercise to it, is around 2,700 calories per day. Now let's get a little bit mathematical, because of course this is a math channel, my nuggets. right? So if we make this a weekly amount, we're going to times that by 7, which is 18,900 calories for the week. So if we said on her mukbang days she did something like 3,000 calories 2 days a week, I'm going to take off 3,000 calories for 2 days. That's 6,000. That leaves her with 12,900 calories for the rest of the 5 days. So we'll divide that by 5. It adjusts her basal metabolic rate to about 2,580 calories for the other days. So if she then did, say, if she did a 1,800 calorie target for those days, you can actually see she can be losing weight, including doing the mukbangs. But that is only on a mathematical level. It doesn't address the behavioral stuff, which is, of course, Candy's issue. And I think anybody who really finds themselves in this kind of situation, it's going to be a behavioral issue. She has admitted herself that her issue is that she gets snacky, including on her mukbang days, and that is a problem.
Hey y'all, today I'm having pizza. It's pizza day. Woo, I'm excited to get into this. Yummy, yummy.
Okay, so this mukbang really didn't bring much in the way of anything at all. She almost just sat there in silence eating in front of the camera, which does make me wonder who is this video made for? Because if we take into account her egg-centric interest crowd, she didn't actually consume that much of this. There was quite a significant amount left over. So we're not doing, that kind of crowd. She also talks about the people that just want to eat dinner with her, but she's not making any conversation. So is she catering to those people either? And then, of course, we've just got her kind of hate-watching crowd, which maybe they would get something out of that, maybe they wouldn't. It makes me wonder if this kind of video is actually benefiting any of her audience at all. And it is unusual for her. And as I like to do, I did put a little mock-up order into this one, and this one was not quite as bad as she's done in the past, but still what I would consider quite exorbitant for a meal. And if she is being truthful when she says that she's eating this is her entire day, I would say it's even expensive to exist on for an entire day. It was $34.68, not including delivery, and that is in US dollars, of course.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all for spending time with me today. I know I didn't have a whole lot to talk about. I mean, the only thing interesting that happened to me this week is I watched a new show on Amazon Prime Video.
And yeah, that's it. That's literally all she spoke about in this mukbang. So let's move on to the next one. Now, I have some things to say about this one, my nuggets. Like I don't always. I mean, come on.
Hey y'all. Today I'm having food from a place that I've never tried before. It's been on my short list for a little while. It's called Salad and Go. And the other day, when I made a poll to see which fast food place y'all wanted me to try, somebody had typed into the comments Salad and Go, and I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, okay, so this is clearly her audience trying to get her to eat something a little bit more healthy, which I think is good. As I've said before, I think she could absolutely get away with doing some more healthy things on this channel, especially if she was uploading more than just twice a week. The editing she's doing is fairly minimal. She's going to be eating a meal anyway, so why not increase your output? She has no other obligations going on in her life, so that would be a great way to make extra income as well. Start trying out some more healthy options. But what I will say about this one, I have a real problem with this kind of restaurant and this kind of fast food because they present themselves as a healthy option, and people who are not particularly savvy in reading nutritional information, if they even have the nutritional information, although this one did, which was good, they present themselves as being healthy when in actual fact you're going to be consuming just as many calories as other things, and they usually compensate for the taste to still be palatable for people who are used to fast food takeaway, like, McDonald's and things like that. They compensate with copious amounts of sodium in these foods. And looking at the nutritional chart that this particular company has, some of the sodium levels in just one item can be your entire recommended daily intake. And for somebody who's trying to, move towards a healthier life or to recalibrate their palate to pull away from the fast food, it's not going to do that. And then you're not even getting the benefits of the lower calories either. And you'll see what I mean. Most of this issue is in the meats that they cook and in the dressings that they put on their salad. So yeah, I really, really don't like this. I think it's very underhanded. And the way they structure the food is feeding into that compulsion, that intense compulsion, just as much as any other fast food takeaway. And I would be really, really mindful of restaurants like this.
Yeah, people don't believe I could be a salad girly, but I sure am. I love me a good salad.
This thing is barely classing as a salad, just barely. Or shall we say a good example of why calling something a salad does not necessarily make it healthy. But they have a massive sachet of really heavy mayonnaise dressing all over this, as well as, like I said, it's jam-packed full of sodium. And actually, I just grabbed, this is directly off their website. The dressing that she has put all over this, and it comes with all of their salads, is worth 300 calories alone. And you can just see that this entire thing is slathered, and that's the issue. So where exactly is the health benefit of this kind of food? Anyway, that's my rant, Nuggets. I'm going to stop there.
All in all, this is really heavy calorie wise, but healthy ingredients.
So I think this really shows a little bit of a knowledge gap with Candy and potentially other people too. It's understandable to go, oh, this has leafy greens in it, so therefore it must be healthy ingredients. But it is about learning how to read the nutrition information. And the annoying thing that I've observed about these kind of places, when they do have the nutrition available, it's in a very difficult to read format as a PDF chart somewhere on their website. And then you have to scroll and scroll and scroll to actually find the thing that you want. And then if you read across to see all the numbers, you need to go and trace all the way back up to the top to work out, what you're actually looking at. So they make it very difficult to read. And if you're not on top of exactly what you're looking for there, that's problematic. And I think this is a tactic, right? Because anybody's going to look at this and go, oh yeah, salad. And she's right about it being quite heavy in the calorie department too, because even though this looks quite light, this is approaching 1,000 calories for this meal. And realistically, what it's comprised of and what Candy is used to eating, how long is this going to keep her feeling that overfull feeling that psychologically she feels she needs? And that's going to lead to potentially more snacking. So we've already had, a fairly calorie intensive meal, and then we're going to add snacks on top of that. And potentially not just snacks to fill that overfull feeling, but snacks to feed that psychological sensation that we've got happening because all we've fed our mind is a whole bunch of leafy greens, and now we feel like we need chocolate or we need something fried, or you can see how that starts to spiral.
So I'm able to get in the kitchen and cook maybe a couple of times a week. But I have to order out a lot. At least for one meal a day. So I've been trying to go with either the lightest options that I can. I can still order like fast food joints, but I'm choosing places. I'm talking about health over here on this channel. I don't give a shit. I don't care. I'm going to talk about whatever I feel like talking about. And not, I'm not going to feel bad.
Okay, my nuggets. I know I've already been a bit sassy. I'm going to get a little bit sassier. But come on. Okay, Candy has a mobility issue. I think that's completely real. I don't think that any of us are looking at this woman and going, she's faking this. Or I don't think so. I don't think she's faking it. I don't think she's exaggerating it. I think she's in her 50s and she's put her body through a lot of work. So she's starting to experience this. But do you see this lie that she's constructing for herself? This permission base that she's constructing for herself? Because we all do this. And it's put in place basically to keep us in our comfort zones. And what she's done here is she's gone, okay, I don't have mobility, so that means I have to have things ordered. I can't spend a lot of time cooking in the kitchen because in past videos you've heard her say when she cooks she's in there for a couple of hours. But you and I both know that not every meal is going to need a couple of hours in the kitchen. So she's already put this rule on, when I go into the kitchen, I'm going to be in there for a couple of hours to make something, extra tasty. So now the rule is, I can't be in the kitchen and I need to order out. And since I'm ordering out, well, I have to do this every day because I need to eat every day. So I'm going to order takeout every day. And this is where I have the problem, because she speaks endlessly about the fact that she's trapped in this lifestyle, trapped in this job because she needs the money. And yet she is spending literally days, sometimes weeks worth of my food. Actually, no, not just food, but household outgoings that would last me for weeks. And she's spending it on one meal sometimes. And that's just not a sustainable lifestyle. And it did get me thinking, because here's what we know. Surely in her area, she's in a major city, so grocery stores are more than likely going to do deliveries. I'm going to assume that major cities in America have this functionality, right? Because we definitely do. Even rurally in Australia, we can get grocery deliveries. So that means that she can do all her shopping online. Right, but then there is an extra problem that she hasn't talked about that I did think of, that potentially putting all those groceries away could be overtaxing for her system. And maybe that's actually what she's not wanting to admit for some reason, because she does talk about a lot of stuff, but not that for some reason. But I think the key to remember here is, if you've got something that you really want and you're willing to get out of your way, and that's probably the key point there, is that you're willing to get out of your way, you identify the hurdles in your life and you start to problem solve to get around them, right? So if we've gotten to a stopping point of, okay, well, I can get my groceries to me, but then I can't get them to be put away. Well, is there some sort of service that exists? Or is there like programs like Fiverr or things like that? Is there a kid in the complex that would be willing to, for like $10, put all the groceries away? Is there something within her immediate vicinity? Even maybe her friend who comes over to visit, maybe they could coincide those things. There's ways to get around these problems. So then if we can find a way for the groceries to be put away, then I come back to well, you don't need to spend hours in the kitchen. You really, really don't. Get the slow cooker, spend half an hour, cutting up the veggies and a little bit of prep, which you can sit down for, and then chuck them in, leave it going for a few hours, and then you literally have weeks worth of meals that only need to go in the microwave. And not only is it good for you nutritionally, it's good for your mind because you're not fixating on the foods, and she's expressed previously that she likes to not have the option. It's also great for the wallet because we're talking about meal prep here, and it ticks every single box. But the thing is that willingness. And what does Candy want more? Well, she wants her takeaway more. She wants her takeaway more than she wants to lose weight. She wants her takeaway more than she wants to save her life. And she wants to find a way to circle around this comfort zone. It is all she's known for her entire life. It absolutely takes guts to break that cycle. It really does. But it's just all about, what do you want more? You can really see that kind of self-perpetuating cycle that she's trying to logic herself into in this moment.
Okay, let me change the subject. We know the salad's good. The salad is delicious. everybody knows I'm on a little separate health journey off to the side. And I'm doing okay. Some weeks are wins, some weeks are losses, blah, blah, blah. But overall, I mean, it's a process. Doing a little better trying to create healthier habits in general. Now, don't get it twisted. Saturday, I'm probably going to be doing Whataburger because it's next on the list.
I would really, really like to know, it's a little bit like watching Amber Lynn. It's like seeing all of these very spurious goals and things that she's trying to do, like fix her relationship with food. Well, I would really love to hear the really tangible, specific actions that Candy is setting up to be able to create these healthier habits. It's really not an easy process, and I could not possibly imagine doing it while still feeding that intense compulsion around really, really, really bad foods. Yeah, I would like to hear her speak more about that. At this point so far, she hasn't really done a lot of that.
No, even though I'm awkward and a bit eccentric, that there's still hope for me one day. I mean, and I've had romances, but I don't know, I was a different person, and I accepted a lot of treatment that I shouldn't have. And I just hung in there because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And like not too long into my marriage, my first marriage when I was 18, I was having issues. I was like, oh no, I've made a horrible mistake. Which I knew the man 2 weeks. And what I knew about him was he had only been out of prison for 2 months. But he latched on to me. It was like, I love you no matter what, blah, blah, blah. It's like the dude's telling me he loves me the first night we're together. Candy, red flags. Slow down. It's like we're sneaking off to get married in 2 weeks. Absolutely insane. I was 18. And not too bright.
I mean, who of us at 18 are at our peak intelligence? Although we do seem to think we are at that point, right? You don't know anything more for sure than when you're in your late teens. So if my timeline is correct, I really want to do up a nice little graphic where we can see all of the stuff that I'm learning about her timeline as we go through. But if my timeline is correct, this is her baby daddy. And I believe she's speaking about Red. Now, Red was the guy who was just recently living with her to apparently help her out, but then that seemed to abruptly end. So this guy, I think I'm getting the vibe is questionable at best, but seems to be still quite involved in her life. But maybe that's because there's children involved, but they're, grown at this point. So it doesn't sound like it was a great start.
I was just like, oh my God. Anyway, so I'm not far into this first marriage, and I'm talking to my grandmother about it. And I realized later in my life that even though her and my granddaddy were together for like 6 days shy of 51 years, that she might have stayed in that marriage because she didn't feel like she had any other choice. Because what she told me was, you made your bed, you lay in it. I'm like, okay.
And that's some rough advice. And it's not advice that stands up to current day. And I don't know, you know, I obviously don't know these people. Maybe there was more to it. Maybe it was just a different, you know, a different time with a different generation, different views on marriage. And that's just how they did things back then. But that is horrible advice to give to your granddaughter. And this is the major female role model in Candy's life. And I think we can, you know, it's really clear to see how she managed to get into these predatory relationships, because then of course we know after Red there was a guy called Tommy, and he's the guy that was around when she got into the adult entertainment industry. That also sounded questionable at best. But this is what she was working with at that time, you know, at the tender age of 18.
To the point, you know, towards the end of my grandfather's life, he's trying to hire a hitman because he don't want to leave the world and me still be with that man. Woo! That tells you how bad it could, you know, it was, and it could have been a lot worse. And yes, y'all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's talking about Red, if she's referencing that we know who she's talking about. I really, really hate that mentality of it could have been worse. Because of course it could have been worse. She could not be here to be telling this story if this relationship was as bad as her also physically intensive grandfather had a problem with it. How bad was it? Because he was not the pinnacle of, you know, manhood himself. But to say, well, it could have been worse, why I wanted to leave that in there is because I think that it's just such a dangerous way to think. Because I think as soon as we start thinking, well, it could be worse, we're accepting our situation rather than actively trying to change it at that point. It's actually something that I've pondered about, you know, looking back at my younger self, particularly around the Eugenia topics, because that's the headspace I was at when I was that kind of age. And I've wondered if I had have been a little bit younger, would somebody like Eugenia have really damaged me? And I'm thinking yes, but not in the most direct way you would think. Because I think at that point, like, I didn't have the exact condition that Eugenia has. I had an atypical variant, which ironically is actually the most common, even though it's labeled atypical. And that's where it doesn't quite present like Eugenia. It looks a lot more quote unquote normal, you know what I mean? Can blend into society. And I think it's that, well, it could be worse kind of thinking that actually led me to that point, because I could look at people like Eugenia at that age and go, oh yeah, well, I'm not like that, so I'm fine. And it becomes this rationalization of accepting the situation as being okay just because it could be worse. Like, you can see the level of delusion that you can start to work on when that enters your vocabulary. Yes, it can always be worse, but you know what, Nuggets? It can be better too. It can be so much better.
But, you know, looking back on my life, you know, I realized, like, with my mental health stuff and my borderline personality disorder, that I was definitely part of the problem. Definitely part of the problem.
Okay, so this is interesting. I haven't heard her reference being diagnosed with BPD before. And I don't know if she's talking about borderline personality disorder or if she's talking about bipolar disorder, because I've heard her talk about bipolar before. And I find this interesting. It's a little Amber reminiscent, isn't it? But yeah, I'm not sure. Now, I'm the first to say that, of course, I haven't been through all of Candy's history because I'm kind of learning about her real time. But I could have sworn that in past videos, she's actually said that she thought she felt like she had something like that, not that she'd been diagnosed. Although maybe the therapist has recently done it. Who knows? I just thought that was interesting because it was the first time I had heard about it.
I mean, yeah, there was a lot that he could have done different, but there was a lot I could have done different too. And the main thing I could have done was get the hell out of there. I mean, I had friends I could have went to. No, just me being codependent. And not understanding that those love feelings when you first meet somebody, it's just chemicals. It's just chemicals. That's why you got to take your time and really, really, really know a person before you make those big steps.
That is solid advice. And I find it interesting that she can acknowledge that the, initial infatuation phase of relationship is chemicals, which is correct. It's all the feel-good chemicals happening. But she can't acknowledge that that's exactly what's happening with food as well. It's just chemicals. That's all it is. These two things are actually directly comparable in that way. So I don't know if she's ever thought of it like that. I wonder if anybody has raised this before. But she's exactly right. And it's why people that cheat, they compare their very long-term and comfortable marriage with a very, very new infatuation kind of relationship. And these two things shouldn't be compared because they're not the same. One has trust and commitment and comfort, and the other one just has all of these racing hormones and chemicals through your brain that are designed to be there to make you feel good. But yeah, she's exactly right.
Because once those chemicals kind of wear off, that's when you start to see a person and you actually see them. Not through the love goggles. Yeah, man. Woo. Both of my relationships were like that. I stayed way, way longer than I should have. That's not love. That's attachment. That's not real.
Yeah, that's not real. And either are the chemicals when you are going through the feel-good chemicals of consuming the food you want to consume. Either that's not real either. And that in a nutshell is what I'm trying to describe with coping mechanisms and self-soothing, where you need to find something of substance, something that is actually real, something that does actually make you feel better, or something that does actually improve your life in some way, because that actually sums it up, what she just said, really, really well. It's not real. The dopamine from consuming food is not real. And then you feel it after.
And I didn't have very good role models when it came to those things, because my mama, she was not in any relationship that wasn't And like I said, later I found out that my grandmother wasn't happy in her relationship either, which is so sad. You spend 50 years of your life with somebody that, doesn't fully make you happy. No, 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 no.
That is sad to think about, isn't it? Because what if this is your only go around, regardless of what you believe, what happens after, what happens before, anything? What if this is it? What if there is just one go and then you spend your life like that? That is very sad. And those generational legacies can be so toxic. And it seems to take something really, really serious for people to open their eyes and actively try to break them. It seems like our brains are geared towards replicating what our parents have gone through. And likewise, they're just replicating what their parents went through. I can absolutely see that over at least 3 generations on my mother's side. And yes, I was not going to be repeating those legacies, let me tell you.
As for me, I'm perfectly fine on my own. I'm in my physical condition, I'm as independent as I can be. But what I'm really proud of is being financially independent finally. That's definitely something that I'm happy about, thankful about. And I know this isn't the best job in the world, but it gets my bills paid. And I don't have to depend on somebody else financially in any kind of way.
I understand what she's saying, what she means when she says that she's not financially dependent. I know that she's speaking about on somebody else. But it's funny, isn't it? Because she really is financially dependent. She's financially dependent on YouTube. And while she says it's not the best job in the world, well, she's literally selling her future for this to be able to pay bills right now. It's almost stealing her future years away from her. And that's what she's telling herself she needs to do. And that to me sounds like financial dependence.
I am so happy right now. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling so good. That was good food.
Do you see what I mean? These are the feel-good chemicals, the ones that she knows aren't real. If she was to think about this like a new relationship, these are not real. These are the kinds of things that you might say after you've challenged yourself to something that you thought you couldn't do, like running a marathon, or I don't know, learning to dance, or something that you feel good about for accomplishing whatever it is that you may do. But she's putting all of her skill points into these very fickle and very wasteful things, which is eating food.
Ooh. Hey y'all, today is May 9th, 2025. I'm gonna be doing my weigh-in. I gotta, my scale is over to the side a little bit. I gotta move it with my foot. I'm not looking forward to it because my hip is hurting today. Oh. So I got you on the tripod. Let me hold this chair while I move it. Okay, hands off. Oh, be still. Come on. Oh, be still, Candy. Come on. Ooh.
388.6 pounds.
Oh, shoot, I gained weight. Ouch. Okay. Well, yeah, that happens. Woo. So ups and downs, ups and downs. Oh, Lord. Well, weight loss is definitely not linear. And this was not a good food week for me. I was snacking way more than I should. I knew better than to buy those chips. Yeah. All right, y'all. See you next time.
She is right. This is not a linear journey. It's really not. But I just look at this woman and I want so much better for her than what she's enabling herself to have. I'm watching her stand on her scales and she's at a 45-degree bend because she can't stand up because her hip hurts so much because of the weight that she's put on it for years. And I just think this is just not okay. This is to opt to snack over this as an option. This is what this kind of mental health condition does. But you're able to fight through it. And it is literally, they say one day at a time. It's really not. It's like one decision at a time. And it boils down to look at the options. Do I want this snack more? Or do I want to be able to live my life in a mobile state more? And every time it seems like Candy is picking I just want the dopamine hit. I just want to feel good. I just want to zone out. I just want to escape these feelings. I want the snack.
So I had a bad weigh-in this week. I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all. Too much snacking. Yeah, not good. Hopefully next week will be better. We shall see. Maybe I can make some better choices throughout the week. Yep. Just eating a salad a couple of times a week isn't going to save me. Anyway, that's all. Bye.
She says things so flippantly, and it is really, really hard to take when you see this cycle happening over and over. I know that this is kind of her coping mechanism. This is her default state where she kind of just laughs at it. And I know that she knows the reality, but I think portraying this to her viewers is not a beneficial thing for her to be doing, because it makes people think that she's not taking it seriously, and you couldn't blame anyone for thinking that about her. But this is also why I really wanted to put the end of month weigh-in data, because I feel like every single check-in that we have, or weigh-in on her second channel that we have, she's always saying something like, oh, next week it'll be better, or tomorrow I'll do better, or it's always in the future, I will do better, even to the point of saying that she's going to pray about it. And there's never actually any action that happens behind it. And to me, I find that really difficult to listen to, because my life has become now so much centered around that action as such a critical and pivotal point in my life that it's hard to see somebody wanting something seemingly so bad, but then not acting on it, if that makes sense. But she is actually losing weight. It's just at this rate going to take her well over 2 years to get under 200 pounds at this point. The older she gets, the older her joints are getting, the more damage is being done, the harder all of this is going to be, and potentially the more lasting the damage will be after it, regardless of weight. At the end of all of this, if there's even that kind of time. And that's what makes this situation so bleak and so frustrating. And I'm gonna bring my old little hashtag that was coined back. Just don't let this be you, Nuggets. This is no way to live. Okay, so directly after deciding that maybe next week would be better, this is the mukbang directly after this weigh-in.
Yo, today I'm having food from one of my favorite places. I know I mentioned Whataburger. It's coming eventually. I just didn't feel like typical fast food today, so so I got basically Hawaiian fast food. Not really, it's real food. Got a couple of forks because it's definitely enough for 2 people.
Not really, it's real food. So again, see, there is a knowledge gap there, because she is seeing vegetables and she's seeing salad and going, oh, well, it's real food, it's healthy food, but there's so much more to this. Now, here's the issue that I have about this place. I did not leave it in the conversation of previous videos, but this particular place, it's called Matiki Island Barbecue, is a favorite of hers, and it's a regular one that she goes to. Now, this restaurant does not have any nutritional information or any calorie information on any of the meals on their website. And if she's saying that she gets this regularly, she actually mentioned that she got this a couple of times last week. That's a problem, because Candy is actively counting calories at the moment. So I'm kind of trying to dial in on her blind spots, because I think everybody that struggles with calorie counting has them. I actually had one as well, where my calories versus weight loss just weren't adding up, and I, genius that I am, was completely forgetting to count oil in cooking, and that was my little blind spot. And then once I found, I'm like, oh, well, that's like, sometimes upwards of 400 calories right there. But I'm wondering if one of Candy's blind spots is, if I can't see the calories, then I can just kind of estimate and just kind of play around with it. And that's where there starts to be room for error on things, and then compounding that with the actual mukbangs that she's filming and the snacking that she's talked about, it all starts to become a little bit of an issue. I would argue that anybody who is counting calories like this should not ever be ordering from any restaurant that does not have the calorie information.
Susan's coming over to hang out with me. Here, get over there. She's coming out to hang out with me tomorrow for Mother's Day. We're planning a nice El Pollo Loco dinner. Ooh, excuse me. Which I'm very much looking forward to. I'm pretty much gonna have salad on top of salad. And try their classic tostada salad. And then I'm gonna have the three-piece chicken meal with the 2 loco side salads. And then I'm gonna like put all my chicken in the sides. So I'm basically just having a big salad and 2 little salads.
So this is sad. Susan is her best friend, who it sounds like is in a similar condition but much more active. She's mentioned in previous videos that that's the case. Candy mentioned that this is for Mother's Day, and I actually wondered what Candy was doing for Mother's Day because we know what Eugenia and Amber were doing on Mother's Day. But this is sad because she's mentioning that her friend is coming over for Mother's Day. There's no mention about the children visiting her or going out to dinner or anything. And she just goes on to prattle about food, and you can really see that there is that pain point of my friend is clearly coming over to console me, but now I'm just going to talk about food because that's my happy place. And you can really see that deflection happening so clearly here. Now, I don't know what has happened with her children. She hasn't gone into that kind of detail from what I can tell. I do know that they're grown. And I do know that she did leave them with the father when they were very young to pursue her adult entertainment career with the guy that we know was not great for her. I am the first person to say that you should not be in contact with your parents if they are toxic in your life and they're not bringing any value in that way and they're only detrimental. And you definitely shouldn't do it just because they're blood. But I don't know what's happened here, and I don't know if that's the case. And I think this is hard for her.
So I have some meat and some rice left for dinner. Which, that's good. That's really good, I think. Because if I have this to eat later, I won't be as snacky as I typically eat in the evenings.
I do wonder if she's truthful here, because we would have no way of knowing. I hope she's truthful. I hope that there's not like additional meals being ordered, although we couldn't possibly know. But she's using this, you can see the rationale behind it of going, oh, well, I have to order takeout because I can't get to the grocery store, and I may as well order the whole day's worth of food because then that's one delivery. And yeah.
Hey, y'all. Today, I'm having food from a place that I love. Cucino's Italian Deli and Pizzeria. Oh Lordy. That's my 2 pasta dinners. And that's my wedge fries. I wanted some wedges. Y'all don't even begin to imagine that I'm gonna eat all this. There's no way in hell I'm gonna eat all this. Ooh.
I think she would have back in the day, though. I do think that she does seem to be cutting down on the intake, like, per sitting compared to what she used to do, which is good. But all I can see when I'm looking at this food in front of her, this exact image right here, and then I see her standing bent over the scale, and I see her in tears in the last video that I did, saying that she just needs to change something. And then it's this constant cycle of we have all of these revelations in the weigh-ins on the second channel, and we get real and we acknowledge everything that's going on, but then this. And this video is literally titled Carbs, 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 and yes.
And there is a method to the madness. I'm obviously not eating all of this today. Even though so far this week I've been so far off the rails, it's not even funny. And I'm laughing because, you know, it's sad. But yeah. Ooh. I'm going to split these pastas up into a few meals.
So bear in mind that this is the week after the weigh-in that we just saw. So this was the week that was supposed to be better, of course, because better was in the future. I will do better next week. And then we're hearing I've been so off the rails. And that kind of talk does worry me a bit, because then that's another permission base to say, oh, well, I've already clucked this up, so let's just, keep going. Let's make the best of it. Okay, so this is part 1 of 2. The next one should be out fairly shortly from when you're seeing this, because they're kind of semi being edited together and at a similar point in time, so you shouldn't have to wait too much for this. But like I said, there was a lot of very interesting content put into the mukbangs for this episode that I just really wanted to include, and I knew it was going to be a bit of a lengthy one, my nuggets. I know some of you don't mind, but my computer minds a little bit. It does struggle with the longer videos. But thank you so much if you're still here for watching. I really appreciate you. And that is all the clucks I have left to give. Stay golden, my little nuggets, and I'll catch you next time.
Hey! Hey! I'm gonna go watch another video. Let's go!